welcome to another edition of the Willie Bragg Show. I am your host, Willie Bragg. I hope each and every one of you are doing well. I normally, on a Friday at 7 o'clock, will not make a video. This is why I rescheduled Braglands for 5 o'clock on Tuesday. But I had to go and do a video today because of the news I found out regarding Candace Owens this morning, which is worthy of discussion. So I got a lot to say about that. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to try to make it too long. I'm just going to go and get down to the meat and potatoes of everything with a caveat. One announcement before I go on. Tomorrow at 6 p.m., Joey McCurran will be a guest on the Willie Bragg Show, and he and I are going to be discussing the birth and death of the Bernie movement and whether it's still relevant or not. We have a lot to say about that and making an assessment about things. So I hope you'll be here at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow night for Joey McCurran, who will be my guest on this show. So having all that said, I'm not going to be too long, but we're going to have a discussion about Candace Owens and what's going on regarding her departure from the Daily Wire. So with no further ado, we'll get started right now, and I will make my greetings to everybody after I pretty much am done with the video here. So I guess no time like the present, right? So here we go. We all know who Candace Owens is. She was one of those liberal activists initially. I know it's hard to believe she was that, but I don't even remember her when she was a liberal, and apparently an obnoxious SJW at that, for what I've been told. I don't know, but that's what I've been told. I'm going to assume that's the case. Suffice to say, I started to know of her around the time Donald Trump got elected, maybe a little bit afterwards. I wasn't impressed. She was spouting off the right-wing talking points and doing it at that point more obnoxiously than even Dave Rubin, who was headed into that direction. It's kind of hard to say who started this shit. I still think that maybe in some ways Dave Rubin did, because he's like the biggest voice behind the former progressive that turned conservative all of a sudden, and pretty much gave up everything they've ever believed in. The only reason he's not grifting as a straight man is Milo beat him to it. I believe that's what happened. I think if Milo Yiannopoulos, or whatever the fuck his name is, didn't do that, you'll be hearing Dave Rubin talking about, he went to straight conversion therapy and he's now a straight man. And don't be surprised if that becomes this grift down the road. It'd be too obvious. But anyway, getting back to what I was going to say regarding Candace Owens, she joined people like Dave Rubin and Tim Pool and Blair Scholes, Ariel Scarcella, and other people who were one day relatively liberal, left-leaning, vaguely. Then the next day, they're basically sucking off of Donald Trump or sucking off of Ron DeSantis. And it's an obvious grift. It is an obvious grift. How in the world? Tulsi Gabbard is the latest reiteration of that too, by the way, which sickens me to my stomach, because I actually did kind of respect Tulsi Gabbard at one point, realizing what an empty suit she turned out to be. But anyway, getting back to to Candace Owens. So that was her lane, from former progressive to down the line conservative, in that sort of Ben Shapiro, Steve Crowder, Charlie Kirk lane, turning Turning Points USA centered. They'll tell you that they're basically a libertarians to sit there and to lure, centricity liberal people into their camp, and then once they're in the camp, they'll be like, no, yeah, you got to go and believe the way that these old fuddy-duddy Republicans believed in. And that's our lane right now. Now we got you here with us. You're going to be like us, or we're going to go and cancel culture your ass out of this conservative movement. That's what they have been all about all along. And it was almost a convincing game. But I realize what these people's games are, as far as these people on the right that used to be leftist or liberal leaning one day, then all of a sudden they gave up everything they ever believed in. That's bullshit. That is bullshit. Absolutely. And there are things about, as I said, I'll go on. But here's the thing about Candace Owens. Candace Owens got canned, fired, or let's just say parted ways with the Daily Wire. Now, I personally say she was fired. She was fired because, and that's just my opinion. It could be that she wasn't. Maybe, there's been things that's been leading up to this situation, especially since October the 7th. Afterward, the aftermath, there was something, and I would say something kind of almost akin to maybe on the left between Jimmy Dore and the Young Turks. There's been some kind of, clash that just turned out full ugly on all sides back in the summer of 2021 after Force the Vote was rejected. But this sort of shit exists on the right too. And she basically got, in my opinion, I think she was canned from the Daily Wire. Now, the Daily Wire is more or less your Bush Cheney era sort of neoconish voice. They don't particularly like the Trump populist brand. They like the sort of a stable sort of mainline neoconservative sort of ways of going about it as their business model. That's the Daily Wire. Most of the people from the Daily Wire, when Ron DeSantis was running in this primary, were behind Ron DeSantis, like pretty damn loud about it. I mean, they weren't like saying, yeah, fuck Trump or anything like that, but when the opportunity came to choose between Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis, they went with Ron DeSantis at the first opportunity right there, because Ron DeSantis is more along the lines of that Bush Cheney model. Now, he's been kind of, I understand he didn't have the demeanor that he has now. He's kind of trying to be like a little mini Trump. It's just a branding for him. But honestly, he's more establishment, and he's actually policy-wise further right-wing than Trump. Maybe a little quieter about it, maybe not as loud, but this is what the Ben Shapiro wing of the modern conservative movement likes. That's what they like. That's what they want in a candidate. These motherfuckers were basically slurping on Ted Cruz's cock in 2016. They were called never Trumpers, and a never Trumper, in my opinion, I stand by this, even though Trump is bad news. A never Trumper is basically a Republican who's to the right of Donald Trump and refused to vote for Donald Trump because he wasn't conservative enough. I kid you not. That's what they are. And maybe the worst people around are the people like Ben Shapiro, who was a never Trumper in 2016, but was a halfway enthusiastic Trump supporter by 2020 because he'd done some horrible Bush Cheney era right wing shit that met Ben Shapiro's criteria for approval. So there is that. And I've gotten kind of long into this here and everything. But getting back to Candace Owens, what happened with Candace Owens is she, I think it's a combination of maybe anything that might have been progressive from her previous past, um, that might still have loomed in her conscience about what's going on in Israel with the genocide against the Palestinians in Gaza. And he was like, I can't support this. And so I think that I'm going to give her a little bit of credit and say, well, maybe that's what it comes down to. Maybe she finds the whole thing just unconscionable, and that little sensibility from her previous time pretty much caught up with her. And I think that that could very well possibly be the case. Also, being canned from the Daily Wire, also gives her a grifting opportunity. She's not a victim, folks. She is not a victim. In fact, I think that if I was in Candace Owens' brain right now, what little brain she has, I would find this as a great grifting opportunity. And that is basically to create a new lane, a new a path toward basically trying to set herself apart from other conservatives, and instead of just rubber stamping the Ben Shapiro talking points or the Charlie Kirk talking points. And that is basically the new lane is not just standard neoconservative garbage ideology, but basically to carve a lane, not alt-right, but maybe down into what I would call a paleo-conservative direction, or what one could call alt-light. Alt-right is actual, white nationalism or what have you. Paleo-conservatism, there is plausible deniability on such claims. So there are people who are, it's like paleoconservatism is like the safe area to go before you go into Turner Diaries territory, or that sort of thing. I think paleoconservatism is, they're just like, pro America and isolationists and all of that, but they may be uncomfortable with overt racism, so they don't quite go there. So that's their little comfort zone, or the sweet spot. And I think that's basically where Candace Owens is finding a lane. Now, I'm not saying that all paleocons are like that. I think that there are people who are paleocons who really despise what Bush and Cheney did, and they wanted a more old line conservatism. That's okay. That's not that's not necessarily negative or toxic or what have you, but they just want a conservatism that's a little more ideologically consistent, I guess you could say. But the thing is there are people out there on the right, on the the neoconservative right, the Bush Cheney types, maybe the evangelicals in the Republican Party that comprise of the Christian right, that they're not necessarily Christian nationalists, although they do share a lot of shit. These people are dumping on Candace Owens for her criticism of Israel over Gaza, because with the neoconservatives and the evangelicals, which I think they're pretty much, they may be different movements, but they certainly do overlap. There is a third rail right there. You do not criticize Israel to these folks. Any criticism, no matter how small that criticism is basically anti-Semitism in these people's eyes. And that's what it comes down to. Now, some people will be like, well, what is she doing being friends with Kanye West? Now, we all know Kanye West is crazy. I don't even know what his music sounds like. Don't care. We know that Kanye West is crazy. Okay? We know that he's Looney Tunes and he's mentally sick. But apparently she was friends with him all these years. And, even if you are friends with somebody and they start saying fucked up shit and you don't know where it came from, I can go and sort of look at it that sort of way. So I'm not going to go be like, well, guilt by association, because Kanye West made these really fucked up anti-Semitic remarks that by default will make Candace Owens that way. And no, I don't necessarily think that's the case, because with anti-Semitism, when it comes to questions of racism on the basis of skin color. Um, Maybe not in every case, but in most cases, this is the way it works. When a white person is anti-Semitic, they usually hate people of color most times, and I would say that would be true of those who are maybe African Americans that may have anti-Semitic sentiment, is because they would hate white folks, or a white anti-Semite's going to hate black folks, basically. In other words, there's a fine line between, let's say, a David Duke or a Louis Farrakhan, and I don't think that she's touching Louis Farrakhan territory, quite frankly. She's got a white husband. So um, obviously, I would find it hard to believe that she has anti-white racism, and I don't think she's an anti-Semite. Strangely enough, I don't. Because the left get this shit all the time. When you criticize Israel, you get people say, "Well, you got a problem with Jews?" No, don't have a problem with Jews. Jews are cool. What I have a problem with is a country that's going to use their military to permanently remove a population from an area, like what's being done in Gaza. And that's the issue right there. Norway could go into Gaza, and I would still criticize Norway for doing this. Doesn't mean that I would hate Norway. Just means that it's terrible what's going on. I said this as an analogy over and over again. Look at the genocide in Yemen by Saudi Arabia. We all agree that genocide against Yemenis was fucked up by Saudi Arabia. Does that mean that we all hate Saudi Arabians because of it? I think that we will look silly if we say, well, your criticism of Saudi Arabia means that you hate people from Saudi Arabia because of what they're doing in Yemen. We hate what they're doing in Yemen, but we don't hate people who are Saudi Arabian for simply being Saudi Arabian. And the same thing with Israel going into Gaza. Nobody in their correct mind are going to say Jews are terrible people because of what Israel is doing in Gaza. There are Israelis, there are Jewish people around the world that do not support what Israel's doing in Gaza. So, and very, very strong, loud voices too, by the way. Do they hate themselves? I doubt it. So, but the thing is, I want to go remove this little misconception that people have about the Daily Wire. The Daily Wire is not owned by Ben Shapiro, to my knowledge. I don't know the name of the owner, but we know that he doesn't own the Daily Wire. So, but what it is that there was a parting of ways this morning with no detail. Now, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that maybe it was termination. It certainly weren't on good terms that they parted ways. And I'm referring to Candace Owens parting ways with the Daily Wire. It's just that you don't go there when it comes to criticism of Israel. And here's the thing. I also think possibly it's a grift, not just a grift to paleoconservatism, but I want to talk about the inconsistency on the right smearing critics of Israel as anti-Semitic. Y'all remember this phenomena called the social justice warrior, the overzealous progressive who wants to go and have their feelings hurt all the time just for the hell of it. basically people who want to cancel culture and boycott and silence and humiliate people with just a little bit of nuance, or even people with obnoxious right-wing opinions. But and they were just like or they were perceived as this army of authoritarian misfits during the last decade, getting worked up over nothing. So, getting worked up over something, but where people should have their views not canceled as a result, even though they may have some abhorrent views or what have you. An example, like getting all upset about costumes being worn in Halloween, or certain video game figures of females being too shapely, or that sort of thing. It just gets a little bit crazy and all of that. And of course, the right wing do this now. They're doing this little social justice warrior thing, getting upset over a black mermaid, for example, or gay Santa, or whatever. I mean, that's just as silly as getting upset over Halloween costumes a decade ago by progressives. Okay, so as I said, I think she's charting a new lane for herself. But here's the thing: identity politics. The right wing will lecture liberals and lefties and progressives. Oh, you're so hung up on identity politics. It's always about race. It's always about somebody's sexual orientation. What about when you liberals want to go and pretend you're being for Martin Luther King's words about judging people by the content of their character and not the color of their skin or what have you, except when the right wing engages in it, they do it themselves. They do it themselves by saying, "Oh, you criticize Israel. You're an anti-Semite. Oh, you disagree with this black conservative. You're a racist." I mean, this is kind of how it works. But they don't. They're doing it themselves. And I wish that progressives would call them out on it. I wish they would. Give me 2 seconds here. I have the alarm ringing. I'll be right back. 2 seconds. Okay, that takes care of that. Getting back to what I was saying, that's what it comes down to. So it's basically, you hear the term by some conservatives called reverse racism, when they're saying, well, blacks are being racist against whites in a way whites used to be racist against blacks, which that's ridiculous. That's a ridiculous term. But but they're doing a form of ID poll, basically, the right. And here's the thing, and here's another thing. You hear the conservatives and the right wing will lecture progressives and liberals and lefties. Oh, you're for cancel culture. You're for you're for canceling, and you're against free speech, and you're for censorship. Well, how dare you? Except when they do it, they think it's okay, because they're okay with the boycott laws that's set up in half the states in this country, and they do believe that if you go and hurt Israel's feelings just even the littlest bit, that you're somehow an anti-Semite. But they're very selective about this, because when Marjorie Taylor Greene talks about Jewish space lasers, there's crickets from some of these same people. But if Ilhan Omar talks about AIPAC being kind of corrupt, oh my gosh, she's anti-Semitic. I mean, it's ridiculous. And which sounds more reasonable? Jewish space lasers shooting lasers in California's wild forests, causing fires in California, or AIPAC basically, being corrupt? And corruption can happen to all people. And if you think that criticizing AIPAC is anti-Semitic, you're basically saying that a group of people is incapable of corruption. That's also anti-Semitic. Individuals do stupid things and evil things. Individuals do good and great things, and they come from all groups. By the way, they come from all races. They come from all ethnic groups, various religious backgrounds, sexual orientations, or what have you. An individual is an individual. An individual can do Individual can do evil, an individual can do great good, and they can come from any group on this planet, any group. So I want to go and say that right there. But I call this conservative cancel culture. I call it reverse political correctness, and I also call it right wing woke skulls. And that's what needs to be said about the people on the right when they engage in this sort of thing. So, um, what else do I have to say on this subject? Well, basically, when it comes down to things like the Israeli Gaza situation, um, there are some things that's kind of noteworthy, even on the as a man on the left, uh, that in the 1960s, the left pretty much organized against President Lyndon Johnson because of Vietnam. Um, for many years, the left sort of just weren't happy with their Democratic presidents, but they just didn't want to see another 1968 conservative backlash on their hands, which liberals not only have seen multiple 1968 conservative backlashes in 1972 and 1984 tsunamis and the kind of right-wing victories we saw in 2002, 2004, 2010, and 2014 and 2016. They don't get it, but they're now getting it because of what's going on in Gaza. Because what is going on in Gaza is objectively evil and a genocide. It was wrong, and I would listen. I would say it again. I don't want to sound like I'm one of these people who are cucks and sort of trying to placate the people and say, "Well, do you denounce Hamas?" I don't like Hamas, but I also don't like the right wing government in Israel either. I denounce them both for this. But who's at more fault at this point is the Israelis because they're going the Israeli government's going to create a more bad will by their actions right now. It is absolutely the worst thing they could do right now from a public relations standpoint around the world. And so, whatever are the motivations of Candace Owens, and I don't like Candace Owens. I want to make that clear. I don't like her. But whatever motivations she's got, um, she's not wrong to criticize Israel here. She is not wrong. In fact, she's very correct. This is probably the most correct I've seen her um, in the short amount of times. It was 2016, 2017 since I'd known who she was. It's the very first time I've ever seen it could find myself halfway in agreement with her. And so I think do I think it comes from anti-Semitism? Absolutely not. Do I think it comes from a grift? Absolutely. She's carving a lane for herself, and she's probably going to get to be more popular as a result. She wants to be in that Tucker Carlson corner of the conservative movement, and that's what's coming down to. And so I think that's where the grift is at with her. I hear the term grift being used a lot, but I know grift when I do see one, and Candace Owens is using a grift, and so there's no need to feel sorry for her. She knows what she's doing. She's carving a lane for herself, and she's going to be more influential, more popular as a result, for better or worse. So there is that. Now, I have to go, but I'm going to say hellos to everybody here on the chat line. So just because I don't want to leave anybody out here. So Miguel, how are you doing? How are you doing? How are you doing, Warren? I'm looking forward to the secret show tomorrow, as usual. Desert Mantis. I like seeing you here too. You're cool. Daniel Barry Sports Highlight. Great seeing you here. Absolutely. Let's see who else do we have here. We have Cowboy Kitty. How are you doing today? I'm ready to go to work tonight, but it's great seeing you here as well. Retro Gamer, how are you doing today? Um, Great seeing you once again. Let's see who else do we have here. I know we have somebody else here. Hold on a second. I'm scrolling. Oh, Dr. Nick Rivera, how are you doing today? I'm doing okay. And I saw somebody else here. I know. Kill your erogenous. Kill your egregionors. How are you doing? I'm tired. That's my excuse. I'm sticking with it. And I thought I saw Ellen here. Wait, is she here? I thought I saw Ellen. Yeah, Jimerson. Hey, how are you doing? I thought I saw you here too. So I'm doing okay. And listen, folks, I am going to head off to work in a few minutes, but I just wanted to go and share this with you all. And I also want to thank every one of y'all here for helping me on this channel. I just reached over 800 just a few days ago, and I'm very happy about that. We're trying to get up to 1,000. I'm going to be very realistic, and hopefully I'll get up to 1,000 subs before the end of this year. I'm giving y'all plenty of time. If you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. So, but suffice to say, to every one of y'all that has subscribed to my channel and put up with me, I appreciate your support and all that. I really do, and I mean that from the very bottom of my heart. Also, want to say, to conclude tonight with, if you like what you heard, please press like and comment if you disagree with me anyway. We'll have a conversation. Feel free to share the content on this channel. As a First Amendment absolutist, it's my duty to inform you to create your own platform and utilize it, because we're in fact the muckrakers of our time. Subscribe to the Willie Bragg Show here on YouTube, Twitch. Follow me on Facebook. Follow me on Twitter. Follow me on Rumble. I don't use Rumble that much, but I'm probably going to start using it again very soon. Always reject corporate media. Free Palestine, free Julian Assange, free healthcare for all, and free speech. And an announcement tomorrow. Jerry McCurran will be in on the Willie Bragg Show. We'll be discussing the birth and death of the Bernie Sanders movement. And of course, new time every Tuesday. We have Braglands. Braglands is the new time, 2 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And this coming Friday, we have Dolores Pierce from Around the World, Dear Friends. So anyway, I hope you are all doing well. I'm going to sign off right now. Y'all take care. I love y'all. Have a great weekend. See you around next time. Bye-bye.